for me counts as well as head of academic affairs that I feel so privileged to be, especially in during the lunches, but also during the weekly seminars, to meet so many great, not only scholars, but also artists, writers, and journalists. And indeed, it is, I believe, these different perspectives that in a very comfortable environment where we are in, pushes us all out of our own comfort zone in a way. And I believe that is one of the most beautiful things that this institute is providing us still after 50 years, that we are able to really think out of the box together. And this is the reason why we have asked one alumnus, David Mitchell. We could have asked you all, you understand that, right? Because you are all very special and brilliant. But we chose to invite David as a writer in residence. He was a writer in residence in the year 2005, 2006. And he has been working during his residency on the book, which was afterwards an award-winning book, The Thousand Autumns of Jacob de Zoet. And David Mitchell was also twice shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize. And in 2007, I think it's not a coincidence that that this was right after your NIAS residency. In 2007, David Mitchell was named one of the 100 most influential people in the world by Time magazine. We are very happy, David, that you agreed on writing a short story, especially for today, for us, that you will read, and it's called Belonging. David Mitchell, welcome.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Fenneke. And I must say thank you to Jan Willem and your colleagues, Zara and Kalia, for facilitating and for organizing this wonderful occasion. Thank you also for that beautiful introduction. I should briefly mention that when the news of the Times Magazine award came through, my wife laughed so hard. I think she's actually still laughing now. And she said quite memorably, "You aren't even the most important person in the house. You're number 5 after the kids and me and the washing machine." So it was not allowed to go into my head. As you said, anybody in any of these rectangles deserves and could just as well. They deserve just as much to have this great honor of speaking to everybody on this 50th anniversary occasion. I had the great good fortune for you to choose me. As you'll know, I was also quite surprised when you did choose me. I said, but I'm only a grubby little novelist. I'm not an academic, and I can't even pronounce Wittgenstein, or is it Wittgenstein? I never really know. All I can do is fiction. I can only write stuff. And you said, well, okay, write some fiction then. So this is what I've done. If we were all gathered today in Amsterdam, there would be some silver trays with a little champagne flute of Prosecco, or even some really nice champagne, of course, because NIAS is NIAS. If you could just imagine my story as a sort of textual version of this little glass of something bubbly, where the bubbles go up your nose and you sniff. This is what I've tried to do, just to welcome everybody to this wonderful occasion. So, as you said, the story is called Belongings. I've never read it before because I only finished it this week. So, wish me luck. We'll see how it goes. When I asked my father if I could join the Scouts, he asked me, "Why would you want to subsume your individuality in some crypto-militarist cult that mixes sandals, short trousers and long socks?" I said that Duncan Priest in my class at school had gone to scout camp and it sounded like great fun. So Dad told me he'd take me camping in the Brecon Beacons instead. Proper camping, he said, with no flags or marching or saluting the Queen. I asked Dad when exactly? And he said, soon exactly. 3 years later, he loaded up our family Vauxhall Viva and off we drove, leaving Mum alone with the cats and the budgies. Somewhere in Monmouthshire, Dad took a short cut off the beaten track, up a mountain, and soon we weren't on any track at all. Dad said the map must be misprinted. When he tried to turn the car around, its rear wheels got stuck in a boggy ditch, so he walked 3 miles to a farm where the farmer wanted £10 to bring out his tractor. Dad tried to haggle him down. The farmer said, try asking Davis at the pub then. So we walked another couple of miles to the pub where Davis wanted £20 to take up his Land Rover. Back at the first farmer's house, the price had gone up to £30. Night was falling, rain was falling. We were footsore and Dad's argument tank was empty. Our Vauxhall Viva was soon pulled free by the tractor, but the axle was bent and now the engine wouldn't start. So we walked back down to the pub where we stayed the night in an upstairs room. Dad told me I'd learned a priceless lesson about creative improvisation when the best laid plans go awry. It was cold. Dad snored. Mice were having orgies in the walls. I thought of Duncan Priest cooking bacon over campfires at Scout Camp. Sizzling, spitting, crispy bacon. I woke up alone, cold and aching. I found Dad outside. He was smoking. Sheep bleated in the drizzly Welsh mist. So, said Dad, I have a bit of news. What news? I asked. News about the car? About your mother and I, said Dad. I do apologise. That was a digression before I even got started. But on the bright side, my parents' divorce meant that I was now free to join the Scouts. Within a month of Dad moving out to Coventry, I acquired my beret, my neckerchief, my toggle, and the handbook of the International Scouting Movement. Common knots, semaphore flags. Do you know your Morse code? Save lives with mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. I drooled, dear fellows, I drooled. All those badges waiting to be earned and stitched onto my sleeve. Pictures of my brother Scouts in South Africa, Hong Kong, Japan, New Zealand. I was inducted at the village hall where our pack met on Thursdays. Unfortunately, my mother was unable to attend due to a Barbra Streisand film being on TV on the evening in question. So my pledges of allegiance were witnessed by my pack, the Scoutmaster, Mr. Henshaw, and his newlywed young wife, Charmaine Henshaw. I didn't know the word incongruous yet, but that's what Mr. and Mrs. Henshaw were. You see, he was a balding, boyish, pink man, well into his 40s. He wore a dreamy air and ran his family's soft furnishing business. She was not yet 30, addressed us all as boy, wore a languid air, and was, to use my friend Duncan's term, one curvaceous hottie. No doubt I was the only Scout. I was not the only Scout into whose dreams Charmaine Henshaw slinked and pulled off a toggle. Now, age 13, at last I belonged to something. Properly I belonged and I loved it. The musters, the inspections, the uniform, the hierarchy, the orders. Left, right, yes sir. We built a shed. We used an electric drill. We held a jumble sale. We did a sponsored walk. We bought a canoe. In August, the plan was for us to go camping in Norfolk and have adventures on rivers and fry bacon under the stars and sing Beatles songs. Subsuming my individuality wasn't a worry. I mean, what had my individuality ever done for me? On the last week of July, however, Mr. Henshaw was a no-show at the village hall. This had never happened before. Trapped in the pre-mobile phone era, all Mr. Henshaw's deputy could do was keep calm and carry on. The evening fizzled out, and over the following days, the pertinent facts reached us. Charmaine Henshaw had done a runner to Spain with all the husband's money. Mr. Henshaw entered a strung-out breakdown, and the Norfolk trip never happened. And by the time Scouts started up again, I'd entered middle school. Me and my cohort had hair sprouting in all sorts of nooks and crannies. Joy Division, New Order, brittle sarcasm and hairspray were in. Scouts were definitely out. I denied ever having even belonged. 3 times before the cock crowed. Duncan Priest got a genuine Harley Davidson leather jacket, 5 sizes too big for him. And for a long time, I avoided the village hall on Thursday evenings. So what's next, dear fellows? Well, love. Love found me in the guise of a physiotherapy student from Sheffield called Vanessa, or just Ness, as in the Loch Ness Monster. We met at a party in York, held at the house of none other than Duncan Priest, whose Harley Davidson jacket now fitted him like a rabbit's pelt fits the rabbit. Pre-Vanessa, if you'd asked me if I'd known what love was, I would have said, yes, duh, in that voice. But during my 40 days and 40 nights of Vanessa, spoiler, I would have said, until I met Ness, I thought I knew what love was, but I was wrong. I would have gone on to inform you that love is a mutuality of belonging, a dissolving of me and you into us. I would have pitied you. Other people might have believed that they were in love or knew what love was, but the poor saps were deluded. You see, nobody else's love had ever rivaled the sublime, 2-backed, one-hearted being of Vanessa and me. I mean, how could it? She was perfect. Her smile, her scent, her half Burmese skin, her northern accent, her sense of humour, her taste, her everything. What we had invented pretty much, you see, was real love. All those songs about heartache and the agonies of love, no, they were about fake love. Fake love was 7-Up, but real love was champagne. Real love was effortless. I mean, sure, it was as rare as an 8-planet alignment, but it was effortless. Obviously, my mum and dad never experienced this, otherwise they'd never have gotten divorced. I mean, obviously, Ness and me were indestructible. I'd gone to visit my dad in hospital in Coventry, but I came back to York a day early so I could be with Ness on our 40th day anniversary. I went straight from the station to her house. It was afternoon and her bedroom curtains were drawn. I sent her a telepathic message across the road saying, "It's me," and I was pretty sure I heard her answer saying, "Welcome home, my love." I rang the bell, pre-glowing with the co-belonging to come. Vanessa's housemate, Debs, opened the door. "Nick, you're not supposed to be here until tomorrow." "Well, the things we do for love, eh?" I replied. Debs spoke like an appalled ventriloquist. "Vanessa's out shopping. She's at the dentist. I'll tell you she called." "I'll tell her you called." "Oh, that's okay," I said. "I'll just come in and wait." Deb's voice was calm, but her eyes were panicky. No, you can't. Our landlady's coming over. She's a strict Jewish Jehovah's Muslim. No men allowed, not even a whiff of one, otherwise we'll be out. I'm sorry." Around Deb's, I saw a jacket in the hallway, a jacket I knew, a leather jacket with Harley Davidson emblazoned across its back. Now, if this was a screenplay, you'd write beat, beat, another beat, another beat. And I felt as if I was a passenger on the wrong train as it pulled away from a town called Joy, a town you could visit only the once, a town that once you left, it ceased to exist. And through the door, between our feet, a moon-grey cat slipped in, or maybe out. "I'm sorry, Nick," said Debs. "I'm really sorry." When Freddie was born, I was a seething top 20 of emotions and sensations. Worry, pride, love, fear, more love, sleeplessness, more love, an urge to protect, gratitude to my wife, Katie, for giving birth, regret at what I'd just lost, but joy at what I'd just gained. One thing I didn't feel was possession or a sense of belonging. This sleeping, pooing, screaming, gurgling, tiny dictator may have been entrusted to us, but he was alone and not a permanent gift. My wife had the lucrative career in pharmaceutical marketing, so I had the part-time translation job, so I became the stay-at-home dad. And my decade of peak belonging to things began. I joined Mumsnet. Freddie and I joined the Ring of Roses playgroup. I joined the AA, that's the Automobile Association, not Alcoholics Anonymous. Each group I belonged to was another brick in the life I was building for the family to which I belonged. The days dragged and the months flew. Soon I belonged to the Parent Teachers Association of Freddie's school. We got a rescue dog called Rizla, and I joined the steering committee of the rescue charity. I joined Amnesty International after a Hong Kong translator friend was sentenced to 10 years in a Chinese gulag. Freddie and I joined the World Wildlife Fund in order to save the polar bears. Results appeared to be mixed. Our family, Katie kept her own name, belonged to the National Trust, so we could get into castles for free. I bought a guitar and joined an online guitar class, though I never got past Old Man by Neil Young. My dad's prostate cancer finally got him, and Duncan Priest sent a bottle of Kilmagoon whiskey and a note saying, "I'm sorry to hear you're in the Dad Club now. Hope there's no hard feelings. Dunk." Soon after, I joined the WAC, the Whiskey Appreciators Club. Just one glass in the evening to say, "Well done for getting through the day, Nick." So nobody else was going to. I felt I belonged to our village in Oxfordshire. I knew the tradesmen's vans by sight. I knew where every little side lane led. I won't deny it, I hit a rough patch, and then I belonged to the AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, not the Automobile Association. The judge had taken away my driving license for 3 years. Katie and Freddie moved into her parents' big old house. I joined a thinking man's group online. It helped me understand that we should extend the same mercy to a terminally ill marriage that we grant to a terminally ill dog. And becoming Katie's brilliant ex-husband was a far nobler aspiration than remaining her embarrassing husband. A few weeks later, I was a paid-up member of the Divorced Dad Club. Freddie went off to university in Leiden, where he began belonging to things too. Maybe it runs in the family, or maybe it's just human. Me, Katie and Freddie belonged to a WhatsApp group made for 3. I buried Rizla under an ash sapling. I got another rescued dog called Skank, named by a drug dealer to confuse wiretaps. I buried my mother. Brexit happened. Now I no longer belonged in Europe, the way I hadn't noticed I once had. I joined Twitter and a blizzard of hashtags. Me and Skank moved to Norfolk and bought a modest beach bungalow. I joined a sea swimming club. I joined an online dating site too, but I realised that I preferred a cup of tea, a book, and my beach garden. I mean, why get back on that bucking horse when finally you're allowed to dismount? Not long ago, Skank and I returned from my evening dip to find my modest beach bungalow on fire. Not a bit on fire, a proper Godzilla blaze with flaming tentacles punching out the windows and doors and twisting up through the roof. A fire that whooshed, groaned, crackled and vomited oily black smoke into the rose and honey sunset. That popular hypothetical question, what 3 objects would you save from a burning building, did not apply. Even at 50 yards, the heat was shoving me back. My Skoda was parked alongside the house, and at some stage, the petrol tank was going to catch, and I wasn't about to risk my life for a 2004 Skoda. Calmly enough then, I called the fire service. The operator asked if anyone's life was in danger. No, I replied. The operator asked if the fire might spread to a neighbouring property. No, I said. My house stands in splendid isolation. The operator told me that a fire engine would be with me in about 30 minutes and asked me to stay at a safe distance from the blaze. Will do, I said, and sat on my driftwood bench at the corner of my rather notional garden. Skank put his doggy head on my thigh. I scratched his ear. Possibly the fire was caused by an electrical fault, but its speed and ferocity suggested an accelerant had been poured through the letterbox by a Twitter anti-EU antagonist whose willingness to execute his threats I had grievously underestimated. Hi, Nick, someone was saying. Are you okay? Enter my unflappable New Zealander neighbour, Bridget. Yeah, I said. Skank's here too. Have a seat. Well now, quite the towering inferno, said Bridget. It's the bonfire of belongings, I replied. Stay in my old caravan for a bit, said Bridget. It won't take you long to move in. We watched the fire consume my Blue Note vinyl collection, my memory foam mattress, the inflatable beds that Freddie and his boyfriend pumped up when they came to stay, my old Scout toggle, my crystals hanging in the window, my tomato plants, my laptop, Freddie's old Lego Man collection, my tub of never-ending hybrid granola that I topped up whenever it's nearly empty, Mum's old cuckoo clock, my passport, my guitar, a signed edition of Katie's latest cookbook, a pouch containing Freddie's umbilical cord, leaflets from all the castles of all our family visits, my toilet brush, my sandalwood Buddha, an unopened airport-sized fruit and nut Toblerone, all those wires, connectors and gizmos I'd never quite dared discard, the kitchen drawer where batteries, garden twine, clothes pegs, whiteboard markets and rubber bands lived, my old wedding ring, which would probably survive, my French edition complete Victor Hugo, which definitely wouldn't, a dozen DVD box sets I bought from Amazon when DVDs were a thing, but which I'd never got round to watching, 30 years of bank statements, all my AA paperwork, 10 boxes from Mum's house, which had just sat in the back room since I'd moved them in. I didn't know what was in them, and now I never would. Boom went a petrol tank, the pitter-patter of tiny bits of raining Skoda. So how are you feeling, Nick? Asked Bridget. My answer took a while to form. 3. You're a clever bunch, dear fellows. You'll have your own ideas about belonging, drawn from your own lives and from ologies and ossophies that I've not even heard of. You'll have spotted that while I use the word join and belong to interchangeably, actually join is a mere act contingent upon meeting certain qualifying criteria, while belong is an ongoing state imbued with an emotional current, ideally an alternating emotional current. One can perhaps overbelong and one can underbelong, but wherever, whoever, and whatever we choose or are chosen by to belong to, may our belongings nourish us as the days sprint by and the years accelerate by even quicker. I recommend a dog. That's it, folks. Thank you for listening to that. I hope the bubbles got up your nose in a pleasant way.
That was extraordinary. Thank you
You're
so
too
much.
kind. You're too kind.
I really would like to. You even got a heart by Jan Willem Duivendak, and that is really special.
Thank you. Thank you for my heart.
That was beautiful. So such a rich glass of champagne.
Oh, I'm blushing. I'm literally blushing.
Not one type of drink, I would say. It's like I've tasted a lot of different drinks in 10 minutes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So we have a little bit of time for some questions and answers from your side. So I would also like to invite people who are with us to use on the ribbon below with under the reactions button. You can also find the raise hand bar. It shows like this, and it sticks in your screen. And if you do this, I can see that you want to raise a question to David, or to just be engaged in the Q&A. That's fine. If you would like to say something, don't be shy. So the first thing that I wanted to say is that the whole topic of belonging that you touch upon in your story has become so important during the last couple of years, but I believe perhaps even longer, because at NIAS we really noticed that many of the fellows from different perspectives, from as many backgrounds as there are worlds in this universe, are dealing with issues of belonging from a personal background or a personal perspective, but also in law or in language or in culture, material culture, social sciences, it is really a topic that has this interdisciplinary angle, and where you can really start exploring what belonging means. But thank you so much, David.
You're very welcome.
It was a pleasure to meet you online.
Same here.
Applause for you.
Yeah, of course.